today's world of high-speed connection, text messaging, and social networking, we often find ourselves searching for information. There are millions of blogs on the internet. News, sports, politics, and tech. But I bring it all together for you and present it in a relentlessly unconventional fashion. My name is Zenny Abraham, and this is the Blog Report. It's time now for politics. Introduce yourself for the camera.
I'm Cecil. I'm the Executive Director of the Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee.
And aside from the fact it's an honor to meet you, assess the Massachusetts race from a Democratic perspective for my
Sure.
viewers.
Well, I'm optimistic about the race in Massachusetts, really for three reasons. I mean, one, I think this election is going to be fundamentally different than the special election with Scott Brown. You're going to have 800,000 more people turn out in the presidential election than turned out in the special election. Many of those are Democrats who don't vote in off-year elections, and I think we have a great message and a great operation to reach out to those voters. The other thing I would note is that in all of the public polling and in our private polling, amongst those people who are undecided in the Senate race, they prefer the president over Mitt Romney by a 3 or 4 to 1 margin. And so it's a great opportunity for us to communicate to them about Elizabeth's message. And third, I think we have a great candidate. I think once we move away from the pickup truck and the barn code and the personality, and we really get down to who's going to best represent Massachusetts, who's going to best represent the working people there, there's no question that Elizabeth Warren, both in terms of experience and in terms of her view of where our country should be headed, best represents where the Democratic Party, but more importantly, where the people of Massachusetts want to go. So I'm optimistic that she's going to be the next senator for Massachusetts.
You made also a comment regarding the polling difference I thought was really provocatively informative about the 15% gap, and you said we closed. Can you tell my viewers about that?
Well, look, I think when you look at most of the press coverage from last year, particularly in the beginning of the year, most folks were bemoaning the state of the race in Massachusetts, and most of the public polling, candidates were down 10, 12, 15 points to Scott Brown. It seemed like it was an unsurmountable obstacle, and just over a year, really, year and a half, and before really the general election has begun, it's a margin of error race. And so I think it's a testament not only to voters learning more about Scott Brown, but really a testament to the great work that Elizabeth Warren is doing on the ground and on the air. And I expect that it will be by far the largest turnout operation that any Massachusetts campaign has ever seen, and will probably rival what the president is putting together in some of the battleground states.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah,
Cecil.
no problem. Thanks. Look, there's a piece of it in almost every ad they run, which is not significantly different than what it was in 2010. The difference is, I think we are doing a better job than we did last cycle, actually pushing back on this argument and not letting them get away with it. And my only regret is that we didn't do it more, earlier, not last cycle. But I think when you look at places that are pushing back, like North Dakota, like Montana, like Florida, we're managing to hold our own, and Democrats are still maintaining a lead on who voters believe is better for them when it comes to issues around Medicare and Social Security. I think everybody's a little bit different. Yeah.
Harry Reid in 2010.
There's almost never an average of anything at this point in the year.
Harry Reid won in 2010 in large part because of advantage among Hispanic voters.
Yep.
What states do you see Hispanic voters being decisive in?
Sure. Well, Nevada is certainly one of them again. Arizona, it's obviously going to play a significant role. Florida, it will play a significant role. I also think you have states like Virginia. Sure, it could be. I think it's states like Virginia where you have a small but rapidly growing population. I mean, it's why you see Tim Kaine, maybe the first candidate, if not one of the first candidates in Virginia, to actually purchase Spanish language television. And so I think it's going to be a growing influence, and I think the Republicans have really made a huge misstep in the way that they've approached these issues. You know, whether it's the DREAM Act or comprehensive immigration reform, or frankly, as I mentioned, issues around Pell Grants and the economy, they are doing everything they can to push Hispanics in our direction, and simply putting Marco Rubio on the convention floor on Thursday night is not going to significantly change that.
When you mentioned that a lot of the Republican candidates have the same position as Todd Aiken,
That's right.
Are you suggesting, though, that somehow helps on your side, or something that you might do with some of these other candidates to
Look, I don't.
suss that out?
No, I think we've been talking about those issues since before Todd Aiken made those comments, and I think we'll continue talking about them. I really don't believe that you're going to see a bleed over into other states having a really negative impact for the Republican candidates, because the way we are approaching them really is no different from before he made those comments. And somebody else will say something stupid at some point, and then you all will get to cover that next. You're waiting. You're like, you need something.
You want to give us a forecast on who that might be?
No.
I think it's a competitive race.
Sure. I think we're in the lead. I think we have the advantage, but I expect that it'll be competitive. And we'll make sure that Chris has all the resources he needs to win that election. Maybe one more.
We're going to go off sides.